never talked to them boys that sat on the benches. I was in the game on 4th and inches.
Now it's time to go to work.
What is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation. Whoops. Bump the mic. In the 863 tribe. It is your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Low, a.k.a. The Gots. Bump the mic. Truth. It is a Wednesday. In the beginning of June. And we can't not stop talking about Florida State football. And unlike in previous years, it's not we're not dreading the season or talking about what needs to happen if we're gonna be a competitive football team or any of that. We are talking about what needs to happen if we are going to fulfill our destiny of being a playoff caliber team in year 3.5. I don't know. Is it year 3 or year 4? You tell me. Of Mike Norvell's climb in Tallahassee, man. Thanks everybody who came in. Hit that like button, subscribe, share the video. Let everybody know we are live on this Wednesday. And tonight, we do my top 20 most important Florida State Seminoles. Not the top 20 most talented. Not the top 20 favorites. The top 20 most important Seminoles. What does that mean? That means the importance of not winning 8 games, not in turning the program around. The important players that are going to decide, is Florida State an ACC champion? Is Florida State competing for a playoff spot? That is what we are going to go over. My top 20. But before we do all of that, like always, we do what? We pay bills around here in this household. You can't come in here and you can't pay bills. We don't live rent free around here. You pay bills over here, man. Hit that like button. Again, subscribe if you're new. And share the video, please. And let's hit this roll call like we always do on episode 87 of The Hangover. We should be at 100 in no time if I keep doing it every week. You know, some weeks I got to take off. Don't really be nothing to talk about. Gaming Wizard is in the building. Tyler Hedden, member of the 863 tribe. Peter Shields, member of the 863 tribe. Jeff, Champ 99. Sane 305, Vontae B, remember the 863 tribe, Montre, Jason Liu, Damian Adams, Raymond James, Jay Hutch, and Seminole Zach are all in the chat right now, and FSU Rose is in the building. That's all we got in the building as of right now. That is absolutely 100% okay with me. So we're going to, Irv Gotti's also in the building. We are going to get into this thing and not waste any time because I don't know how long this one's going to go. Okay? This one could go a little longer than usual that I try to do on these Wednesdays, and that is absolutely fine. For those of you that are just listening, you just get to hear my lovely voice. For those of you that are actually tuned in and watching, I'm going to have you guys a little slideshow to watch, a little PowerPoint presentation as we go down the top 20 Florida State Seminoles. Most important. So let's get this started, man, and not waste any more time. Disclaimer before we start. Everybody knows number one. Everybody knows number one. Jordan Travis is not on the list because the obvious is what's understood does not need to be said, explained, whatever. The obvious is what it is. There's no need to put Jordan Travis at number one. Jordan Travis goes down. We know we're in a tough bind. Even though the quarterback room, I believe, is healthier than it's probably been in a long time. Jordan Travis goes down. We're no longer looking at, what happened to my, that happened. Okay, here we go. We're back. We're no longer looking at a playoff. We're just looking to survive the season, so to speak. I think if Jordan Travis was to go down, we would be a legit, you go from an 11 to 10 win team, probably drop off about 2 wins, probably 9 or 8 win team, 7 win team at worst. Could be 2 or 3 L's on the board if you lose Jordan Travis. So that's the obvious, right? We're not going to waste time on number one. Well, there is a number one. It's just not Jordan Travis. So this list consists of the 20 most important Florida State players that do not include Jordan Travis. And here we go. First, we're going to start off with our honorable mentions, man. These are a few guys that I really struggled with. You kind of wanted to put them on the list, but I did. Ultimately, I felt like there were 20 more important guys, but these guys deserve to be mentioned because they are pivotal to what's going to happen this year. Dennis Briggs. It feels like, if you remember last year, man, Dennis Briggs rated really high on my list of important players. As a matter of fact, I think he was like top 5. He might have been like 1 or 2. He was that high for me. I don't remember the exact number. You can go find the video and check it out. But Dennis Briggs was extremely high on my list. This time he doesn't make the list. He's an honorable mention because he's still valuable in my opinion, and especially with the loss of the D-Mac. This is a guy who can play inside or outside. He can maybe give you those Leonard Warner type snaps. He can give you. He will be, I believe, used on multiple fronts, DN, in the middle, whatever you need Dennis Briggs to do, he'll be he will do it unselfishly. He's been an unselfish player since he's been at Florida State, and Dennis Briggs is an honorable mention for obvious reasons. Daryl Jackson did not make my list. I saw some lists you guys posted on the community page. Respect those lists. Those are some pretty good lists. Ours will differ a little bit. Daryl Jackson doesn't make my list for really one big reason. His waiver still hasn't been approved, and I don't think it – I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. Obviously, if it's approved, that's a major boost. But we're deep. We're deep at that position. He's an honorable mention, but he doesn't make my top 20. There's just 20 players that I value more than Daryl Jackson Jr. But definitely is an honorable mention, man. Akeem Dent, man. He's been at Florida State what feels like a decade now. Shout out to Akeem Dent. He's still holding down that safety spot. Safety spots are going to be very interesting to watch this fall because of what's behind them. You got to keep our starters healthy, or at least that's the plan. Akeem Dent is turning into, in my opinion, a very reliable player. I don't know if he's the superstar player that everybody kind of hoped he was coming out of high school, or the way he was rated coming out of high school. So he's probably never going to be that guy, but that doesn't mean he's not a quality player and a player that, is valued. And while he doesn't make the top 20, he's definitely an honorable mention. Tatum Bethune, a guy, if you guys don't know, I mean, I'm extremely high on Tatum Bethune. I love me Tatum Bethune, but I feel like there's 20 players that are just more important. And shout out to Tatum Bethune, man, but I think I can find 20 more players than Tatum Bethune. Of course, I saw people talking about the kicker, so I'm not going to disrespect the kicker, so I'm going to put him on here. Look, there's 20 guys more important than the kicker, but to pretend like, kicking field goals won't potentially be important, I think would be a little naive. However, I would argue, how many games are we really going to be relying on Ryan Fitzgerald to win us the game this year if this team is what you think they are? If this team is what you think they are, I don't know if we should be relying on Fitzgerald in a bunch of close games, but we'll see. But he does get an honorable mention in my book. Maurice Smith, Mo-licious, man. He was on my 20 at one point, but I moved him around. Maurice is he's important. Look, the center, I think the center is the most underrated position on offense. I think the center is the most important position on the offensive line. I know the glory position is the left tackle, but I think the center is the most important position on an offensive line. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just lulled into a false sense of security when it comes to Mo. He's always there. He's always reliable. They haven't been able to move him out that spot. So maybe I'm just being lulled into a false sense of security with Maurice. He's obviously important, but he gets the honorable mention. And last one on my list might be a surprise to some, but Omar Graham Jr., the linebacker, he is an honorable mention because of what he brings to the table. If he is actually able to be in this rotation, then you no longer worry so much about your linebacker rotation, right? If Omar Graham can actually give you something in his redshirt freshman year, now you worry a little bit less about the future at linebacker because Tatum and Deloach are both seniors. So you worry a little bit less about the future and you get quality depth this year. Omar Graham gets a honorable mention to me. Before we continue, I got a super chat that we're going to get to. And Irv Gotti with the $5 super chat says Travis Rudolph is found not guilty. Yes, he is. Congrats to his team. What are your thoughts on Dustin Hill interview? Go Noles. I watched the interview. I mean, solid interview. And not much to take from it. They asked him the question that everybody wants to be asked without really asking it, like alluding to it, and he answered it how he was coached up to answer, and that is, it's a family issue and whatever. We may never know. We may never know until he's ready to talk about it. He claims he's ready to talk about it and is not ashamed of it, but it's a family issue, and he didn't go further than that. Probably when he leaves Florida State, he'll talk about it, but who knows? But fine interview, and shout out to Rudolph, man. We talked a little bit about that Saturday, so I'm glad Rudolph justice was served for Travis Rudolph, and shout out to Herb, man, with $5.
Yeah, get more money. Yeah, get more money. Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Number 20, man, you see his picture right there. My brain breaks just to crack off the 20 is your man AZ. And at the end of the day, AZ is going to break the top 20s for the simple fact he's probably the most versatile DB you have in the room right now. We're talking about a team that doesn't know what they have in the back end in terms of behind Shaheem and behind Dent. This could be a guy that they move there. He's also a guy who, if you need him to, you can start him opposite of Cypress and maybe move Ronaldo somewhere, maybe move Cypress somewhere. I think AZ gives you that versatility because he can play everywhere in the secondary. I mean, heck, in high school, the guy was even a wide receiver. He's that type of an athlete. He's got that type of length, that type of range. And he had a very good, solid freshman campaign, man. As you see, hold on. Oh, what's up, Born Legacy? I clicked the wrong button. You weren't even supposed to get popped up. So give me a minute. All right. Actually, I got to take you off so people can actually see the screen now. Played in 11 games as a freshman, so obviously he didn't redshirt. He's a true sophomore. I got visual aids, man. Trying to tell you, I'm trying to give the people something to look at. There you go, Briley. I'm trying to help y'all out. Y'all don't always want to look at my face, I'm sure. So I got the visual aids. There you go. Put some work into this. 14 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, and 1 pass breakup as a true freshman. AZ's bringing in the top 20. I think he is your 20th most important player just because of everything he brings you as a total package as a player. Again, your top 20 may differ. I see people saying I'm hard on Bethune. I don't think I'm hard on Bethune. I love Bethune, but again, I think I can find 20 more important players than Tatum Bethune. And again, Maurice Smith probably should have been on this list at the top 20. He got an honorable mention, but maybe I'm just fooled in the sense of thinking Maurice is always going to be there, but we'll see. As you see right there, number 19 is Joshua. This is a guy that they've developed from day one. This is a guy that I know he played with us in the portal a little bit down there, but Joshua Farmer is a guy that's going to bring you a lot of depth in that room. He's the guy that makes me say, well, Daryl Jackson is a little bit of not a priority, right? He's an honorable mention. He doesn't make the top 20 list because I think you got other guys like a Joshua Farmer who can come in, and this is a big year for Farmer. There's a lot of expectations on him, with everything that happened in the offseason and just the fact that this is a guy that they took from 260 pounds to now he's listed at 311 pounds, true 3-tech type of guy. I mean, a lot of expectations on Farmer. And if this D-line is going to get where it needs to be, Farmer is one of the most important pieces on it. He is number 19. As you see, he also played in all 13 games as a redshirt freshman last year, so he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. 15 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 1 quarterback hurry. Look for those numbers to improve in his second year of getting a lot of reps. I expect his rep count to improve drastically this year. I'm sure they'll be asking a lot of Farmer. Winston Wright Jr. comes in at number 18. So my list is a little interesting. Normally, probably Winston Wright wouldn't have made this list. However, the reason Winston makes this list is because not what he does at receiver. I think we have plenty of receivers that can get the job done. And I'm not taking anything away from Winston Wright. I'm excited to see Winston Wright in that slot with those 2 big wide receivers on the outside. But I think Ja'Kai could do the job if he was asked. They got a true freshman in Vandrevius Jacobs that can maybe do the job if he was asked. Who knows? Can Tron play in the slot? It's possible. My point is they got bodies. Hell, from what I've seen, the Dustin Hill workouts and some of the pictures from the workouts, he looks like he's in phenomenal shape. Who knows? Dustin Hill could maybe play that position if indeed asked. That's not the reason why Winston Wright's on the list, man. Winston Wright's on the list for the simple fact he brings a lot to your special teams. Now, he didn't return punts at West Virginia, but he did return kickoffs. Of course, he sat out last year with the broken leg and didn't play with us, but you see his receiving yards at West Virginia. And the big thing is the kickoffs, man. 618 yards and a touchdown, a long of 98. Is it possible that he could also return punts? With the loss of Micah Pittman, now you're wondering, let's be honest, okay? Micah Pittman did a great job at fielding punts. Micah Pittman did not do a great job as a returner. He caught the ball, didn't return very well. Can Winston Wright bring a dynamic? I don't know if he wins the punt return job, but I think he's an extremely important player just to have the opportunity that he can be on the punt return. I definitely expect him to be on kick return, probably opposite of Trey Benson, as you saw what Trey Benson was last year as a kick returner. Now you pair Trey Benson and Winston Wright, 2 guys that can take it to the house at any time. Now you're really cooking with fish grease on those special teams instead of a guy like Sam McCall, who they forced on special teams, I think, to appease him with playing time. Obviously, he wasn't ready to be in that role as a true freshman. Now you get Winston Wright and Trey Benson, definitely on kick return. That's my prediction anyway. The question is, can Winston Wright also return punts? If so, I mean, I think 18 is a very warranted spot on this list. If not, maybe a little too high with him. Maybe I could have subbed him out for like Maurice Smith or something, but I'm going to stick with Winston Wright for now. I have a sneaky feeling he's going to be your punt returner. Could be wrong. You know me, I don't know anything anyway. Y'all see that guy right there. As for number 17 goes, Gilbert Edmond. What? Gilbert Edmond. Why is he on the list? Well, I'm going to tell you why he's on the list. Listen, guys, we know who the bookends are on this team, okay? We know who the bookends are. If FSU wants to have the D-line that we need to have, Gilbert Edmond has to be into. You didn't bring Gilbert Edmond in the portal to just be a guy, to just be a body. You brought him in to be a valid. In some cases, some people thought Gilbert Edmond would challenge Pat Payton for the opposite DN. I don't think he's going to do that, but I need Gilbert Edmond, again, to be the 17th most important player. I ain't saying he's the 17th best player, but I need him to be the 17th most important player. This is a guy that needs to give you quality snaps. And here's the thing. You see he didn't grade that high in PFF. You see his stats weren't that impressive. But the one thing that has to pop off that screen to you, that man played 654 snaps at South Carolina. That is an insane amount of snaps. That is crazy numbers at South Carolina. And the hope that I think Florida State has, if you're a fan that you should have, is that if you can just cut those snaps in half, maybe now what you actually get are quality reps where he actually can give you 100%, 95% of what he's got on any given play instead of playing 654 snaps and being gassed most of the time when he's out there on the field. But Edmond has to be the number 17th most important player. People may not agree, may not think he belongs in the 20 most important, but I disagree. If you're telling me that we only have Pat Payton and Jared Verse and nothing behind them, then yeah. Last year was so critical because it wasn't just Verse and D-Mac. Pat emerged from nowhere, kind of, even though I thought Pat would have a good year. Pat emerged is the point. You need the next person to emerge. I don't know is that Edmond, is that a Dante Anderson, Byron Turner? Maybe. I'm gonna go with Edmond. He's the guy with college experience. He's the guy that's been in a college weight room the most or the longest. We need Edmond to step up and be that guy. Before we continue, let's hit the comments real quick. The visuals greatly appreciate. Hey, Irv, I try, man. See, I'm trying. Glad y'all appreciate it. Briley says Farmer could take that Farmer could take that productivity drop off from some to none. I don't think he'll be better than Jackson, but it'll be paramount to covering for any deficiencies in the secondary. I do think he'll be better than Jackson. I think Jackson's a solid player, but I don't want to pretend like we didn't watch. There's not a ton of tape on Jackson at Miami. Okay? What Jackson's being brought in to do is what is different than what Farmer is going to be asked to do, right? They play the same position, but they're asked to do two different jobs. We'll see. I mean, Jackson's obviously the bigger body, but we'll see. I'm a little worried right when we game form. I expected more from the spring. I think the rigors of ball every day created a setback. Sucks, but Douglas and Bell will probably take the slot targets. I'm not too worried about. Whoops, what happened there? Okay, I jumped the gun. My bad. But I'm not too worried about that. I mean, a lot of receivers didn't get a lot of targets in the spring. Here's the spring. Ain't tripping on the spring. But thanks for the feedback. See, Briley giving me all the feedback, so I appreciate it. If Edmond doesn't show more than we've seen so far, I think we see more creative use of Fisk. Tay, what's going on, man? Tay, ain't seen you in a while. Tay, how you been? Tay said, I agree. Need Edmond to be a solid player who was 19 and 20. 19, Let's do a quick review for Tay since he want to show up late. 19 is Farmer. 20 was AZ. I even forgot that quick. Look at me. And I made this. And I made it. All right, let's go to 16, man. Let's go to 16. And I already spoiled it. But 16 is that guy right there that wears that number 9. That's Lawrence Toafili coming in at 16, right outside the top 15. A redshirt junior running back. Well, let me get up this so y'all can see. Get off there. There we go. There's his numbers. Solid numbers as the third wheel. Very solid numbers as the third wheel. But now you're asking my man to probably be the second in command here. Expect LT to get, I think expect those numbers to increase, not to mention, as you see, totally the man had 725 total yards. I even think LT will continue to get targets out of the backfield. I just think Toafili is a total package, man. And with the loss of Trayshawn Ward, and the only other two, and there's no other running backs in the room with any real experience other than Trey and LT. I mean, we have hopes for Keziah, Rodney Hill, or whoever. LT is going to have to take that next step in that backfield, and he brings so much more than just running the ball, which he can do. He's gotten better at running between the tackles, but what he brings in the receiving room and just as a total package, I think you got to say Lawrence Toafili as one of the top 20 most important players on this team. And there you go, KJ. Tell him hit that like button. Next up is number 8. Well, next up is number 15. But wearing number 8 is the man Ronaldo Green, the redshirt senior. Good year last year, man. 58 tackles, 42 solos, 16 tackles, 5 pass defenses. Everybody was so worried. I wasn't. But everybody was so worried. People even tried to tell me Jarvis Brownlee was your best DB. And us losing him was going to be critical to the defense. And Jarvis Brownlee, as a corner, was your best tackling corner, as if that really mattered. And then all we did was upgrade with Ronaldo Green. And not only was he as good, if not a better tackler than Jarvis Brownlee, he was 10 times the cover guy. You know, that what corners actually get paid to do as in cover wide receivers. Yeah, he was 10 times better than Jarvis Brownlee ever thought about being. So Ronaldo Green is definitely the 15 most important. He's going to crack the top 15 there. Top 15 most important players on this team because, hey, just continue off the season you had last year, and you can have one side of the field shut down, man. So shout out to Ronaldo. I think he's breaks the top 15 most important players. Coming in at 14 is Casey Roddick. He's a guy who, the reason why he's here and not Mo is here for me is there's still talks of this man playing center. I don't know if it happens. I still think Mo's going to end up being your center, but this is a guy that gives you a little bit more versatility than Maurice Smith is the point. If anything happens to Maurice Smith, I think Roddick is going to step in at center. I think we'll be just fine. But he also can play either guard position, and I do expect Casey Roddick to be a starter on this offensive line. He is the offensive lineman that I think that the one you brought in that is going to be a definite starter. The other ones, I don't know, man. I don't think Byers and Coleman. I mean, we'll see. We'll end up seeing what happens. But I'm not so sure Byers and Coleman, not Coleman, Jones. I don't know why I said Coleman. Byers and Keandre Jones. I think I was saying Keon, so I was thinking Coleman. Keandre Jones, I'm not sure. Not so sure. I'm almost positive that they both don't start. I'm pretty positive they both don't start. I'm not sure either one of them gets a nod here. But I think Casey Roddick will definitely be in the starting rotation for sure. And because of that, he is going to be a very important player on this team. Let's move on to number 13. As you see the big guy right there, man. That's my man, Robert Scott, redshirt junior, 6'5". He's lost some weight since last year. He's been a day one starter since the day he's been here. And look, doesn't have the greatest of PFF grades. Struggled, had some injuries last year. But here's the point. Very similar to Maurice Smith. They can't. The guy's been the starter from day one. So as a freshman, Robert Scott's been holding down left tackle spot. There's a chance that he might be even better this year for the simple fact I'm not so sure he plays left tackle this year. And there's a chance he could play right tackle, and that tells you something of who else is to come on this list. But at the end of the day, your tackles are important. Again, I think to a certain degree, tackles get a little bit too much love, and the center doesn't get enough love. But at the end of the day, your tackles, they protect they protect your blind sides of the quarterback. They protect those edge rushers that get paid a lot of money. Those edge rushers that keep offensive coordinators up at night. They protect the quarterback from them. Robert Scott, right outside the top 10 at number 13, is where Robert Scott's going to land for me. Let's get to top 10, and then I'll go over some comments. So this actually is going a little faster than I thought. Whoops. There we go. Shaheem Brown, my man. He comes in at number 12. He's stepping into some big shoes. I don't know what Jamie is going to be as a pro. I don't necessarily see a Hall of Fame career for Jamie, but that doesn't mean he won't be a solid pro for a long time. But what he was a damn good college safety. And he's stepping into those shoes with bigger measurables, maybe some better athleticism than Jamie for sure. It's just all about how he plays. It's just all about how he plays, man. It's going to be, does he translate from being just playing in 13 games to now being a full-time starter? But Shaheem graded high for a guy who played in a lot of rotations and started 2 games. I think Shaheem Brown is vastly important to this team as a whole. He's big. He's bigger than some of our linebackers. So he's a guy who can put down. He's shown the athletic ability to cover. What game was that where they might have been the Florida game where he made critical coverage plays. So he's shown the ability to be versatile, can cover, can play downhill. Obviously, he's not as afraid to tackle, to hit anybody. Jamie Robinson is a loss. Shaheem could make it so we don't miss him, so to speak. Shaheem Brown, I think, is critical to the success of this defense. That's why he's all the way at number 12, believe it or not. Maybe high for some. I think Shaheem Brown, I think a lot is going to be asked of him, which makes him so important. Let's get to some comments, and then we'll continue. See what people think so far. Let me scroll up. Of course, Briley giving his feedback. 12 Philly would definitely be in my top 12 between a change of pace back and a ton of pass targets for running back too. I think LT will be a mismatch nightmare. If he beats us, so be it. Treatment. Green, left, spring is our best cover. Got to have a lot from him, and his fundamentals are solid. So I think he's definitely up for the challenge. Roddick also brings a ton of experience, composure, and maturity is an excellent replacement for Gibbons in that room. Agree with that. I didn't mention that, but that is a great point. You lose a leader in Gibbons where, I don't know how talented Gibbons really was, if we're being honest. But he was a good college offensive lineman. And I don't know how talented Casey Roddick is necessarily. What I do know is leaders of young men are important as players. And Gibbons was that, if nothing else, right? He led that room. And I think Roddick comes in and he just steps right into that role as a mature, older veteran to just lead the room. Though that O-line room is no longer young anymore. I think there's a lot of mature guys in that O-line room, but he definitely steps into that role. If Scott is healthy, he can stay healthy. I think he takes our O-line to a whole new level if he's at right tackle, especially if his lower weight allows him to be more nimble. And then finally, I saw an interview with Shaheem, and he's dedicating himself to mental side and film study to make himself a more field general. He also is much more of a ball hawk than Robinson. I don't disagree. Again, I think he's more versatile than Jamie, and Going to be critical. Going to be critical, man, to the success of this defense. Let's move on. Right there, you see, right outside the top 10. But that's my man, Kalen DeLoach. This is the guy who I expect to I think Kalen could have an all ACC type of year. From what I saw in that spring game, man, he was all over the place. He looks like he is just so comfortable now. You know how you can just see when a guy, and I'm not saying that he was struggling with this early, but there's that transition that like freshmen make where the game's just so fast. And then you see the game finally starting to slow down. But then you see where the superstars or the big time players where they actually seem to play faster than the game itself. And I felt like that's how he looked in the spring. Now we'll see if that translates. We'll see if that translates to the season. But the way he looked in the spring to me, he knew what was. He just understands the game, I think, to a point where he can read a play before it happens. And where you saw glimpses of that, I'm hoping you see it on a more consistent basis. I think Kalen DeLoach is in for a very, very big year. It's one of the reasons why he's on the list and Tatum isn't. I think Tatum Bethune was the better linebacker last year. Kalen DeLoach has the potential to be the better overall linebacker going forward. And I think this is the year I want to see him reach that. And our defense needs that. We need that linebacker, man, that's really going to show out for a bunch of reasons. Mainly, obviously, to win games, but also so we can start recruiting some damn linebackers by showing them that number 4 here can probably make it to the NFL. So, Kalen is number 11 for me because I just think, I just look at 63 tackles, 32 solos, 30. I mean, so that shows you he has a nose for the ball. He's always there. 3 sacks, 7 pass defenses. I keep jumping the gun and ruining my. So y'all see who's number 10. But Kalen is the guy, number 11, and I am very high on him. But he's right outside my top 10 because that's number 10 comes. So Jaheim Bell is this low, which might be low for some. I think number 10 is right on point in my opinion. But first of all, he's a tight end, guys. He's a tight end. So while the tight end can be used in a vast amount of ways, I don't know what Jaheim Bell brings to the table in terms of wins and losses. But obviously, the reason he's in the top 10 is because he is critical to what we're going to run offensively, just in every facet. All that stuff you saw Micah Pittman getting, even Darian Williamson to some degree with these sweep routes, with these end arounds. I think you give it to this guy, the guy who played running back and tight end, more explosive than both of those players, probably combined. Gives you a dynamic athlete that you haven't had at the tight end position, maybe ever, because we can all agree Nick O'Leary was the GOAT, but he wasn't no supreme athlete where I think Jaheim Bell gives you that level of explosiveness. Whoops. Okay, there we go. So at number 10, man, I got Jaheim Bell. Some people might have him higher, but I think 10 is right there for him. 6'3", 233. You see his receiving stats. You see his rushing stats. I mean, Jaheim Bell, I think his value gets a little lower, maybe to some. Again, to me, I think 10's right where I actually at one point flirted with him putting a little lower, but I thought he deserved be right inside the top 10. But when you couple Jaheim Bell with other weapons that this team has in the running game and receiving game, I can't put too much emphasis on the tight end. At the end of the day, not only is he a tight end, but another thing that brings down the value maybe of some of these players, I kind of mentioned with Tatum Bethune, and somebody earlier had said, like, is Tatum Bethune should be in the top 20. And Kalen DeLoach and Omar Graham, who got an honorable mention, but Kalen DeLoach kind of knocks Tatum Bethune down if he elevates it up. I think the same thing's happening with Jaheim. Great player, but if I get Morlock and Biscuit to give me anything along with Bell, I don't know if his importance is that great. And I'm saying that as the guy who made the top 10. But I just have a feeling that someone in the comments is going to go, Yeah, Jaheim Bell should be like the top 5 most important player. I don't quite think he's that important as a tight end. That's just me, though. Let's move on. We just talked about Ronaldo Green. Got to move into Fentrell. Now, you can swap these two, to be honest with you. Fentrell and Ronaldo, whoever you think might be a better player. But you didn't bring in Fentrell Cypress. Same thing with Gil Redmond, right? I didn't bring this guy in to just be another guy. I brought you in even more so with Cypress. I brought you in to start. And I brought you in to lock one side of the field down. And that's what he did last year. I didn't put it on here. I actually thought I did. But his PFF grade was like an 84. He had one of the higher PFF grades, if you care about that sort of thing, in the country as a defensive back, as a corner, true corner. The question is, I think what they're going to have to try to figure out with Fentrell, is he a press guy? Is he more of a zone guy? Is he who's number 1, who's number 2, field bound? They're going to have to figure all those things out. But Fentrell paired with Ronaldo Green, I mean, those two, had the opportunity to really make this secondary be one of the better secondaries we've seen in a while. And again, you don't go out and get Fentrell Cypress from the portal, a guy who was highly sought at. He was one of the top DB. I mean, if it wasn't for Travis Hunter, he would have been the top corner in the portal. You don't go out there and get him and not have importance placed on his head. Heavy is the king who wears the. Heavy is the head. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, is the saying. That is Fentrell Cypress in that secondary. I think they brought him in there to be the leader of that group, so to speak, or if nothing else, be the best player. And that's a group that has Akeem Dent. That's a group that has Ronaldo Green and Jerry and Jones and some guys. I think Cypress is again most important player. I think Cypress fits the bill at number 9. Ooh, here's one. I don't know. Is this too low for some people? Maybe. People put a lot of stock on my man Johnny. Look, shout out to Johnny. As you're going to see here, man, the stats are what the stats are. The big time year, 43 receptions, 900 yards, 21 yards a catch, only 5 touchdowns, which you would think from a 6'7" guy, we got to get him some more red zone catches. But obviously that number can definitely improve. Johnny's importance gets lowered, if we're being honest, because of what they've added you'll see going forward, but because of the weapons that was added, not just with one player, but in just the totality of the receiving room. I think Johnny's importance may have been higher, but I think it drops a little bit. Obviously, you saw how important he was last year. Johnny was a guy who was, in my opinion, very frustrating to watch at times because he made easy catches look hard and hard catches look easy. But at the end of the day, if you go watch a lot of these games, which I went back and watched like Syracuse, Miami, of course. But I went back and watched the Syracuse game, the Louisville game. And you go watch on the ACC network, they have the condensed version. So I went and watched these 30-minute condensed version of these games. And outside of Ontario Wilson, man, anytime they needed a catch, it was this guy. And I think Johnny has that. He'll be in that same, used in that same way. Like anytime they're going to need a catch, obviously they're going to go to Johnny. 6'7" makes him the number 1 target, or at least the number 1 priority for any defense. I said it when you got him in the portal, though he hadn't had any real stats at the college level. Any defensive coordinator worth their grain and salt is going to scheme for 6'7". You have to, or they're going to make you pay for it. That makes Johnny Wilson number 8. The crazy thing about it is with all the weapons, I don't know if he has better stats this upcoming year. He also may very well not, guys. I think it has to be a reality that a guy like Johnny Wilson's stats could take a dip. There's only one football, and there's a whole bunch of weapons that's looking for the ball. Let's move on to number 7, Trey Benson. Redshirt junior running back. As you see, man, just missed out on 1,000 yards. Not really known for his receiving, but when he did catch the ball, he went for over 11 yards a catch, 9 TDs. I'm very, very interested to see what Trey Benson does as the number one guy. He put up these numbers, guys, and for the first, what was it? The first 4 or 5, 6 weeks of the year. I mean, one of those three, he wasn't even getting all the carries. He wasn't even the starter. Trayshawn Ward gets dinged up. Trey Benson gets that role, and he kind of never looks back. That's kind of how that one worked out. I'm very interested to see Trey Benson from Jump Street and the type of numbers. You know, everybody's talking about Will Shipley, and it's well-deserved as the ACC's number one back. But this guy may very well be, when it's all said and done, statistically maybe, with the O-line we think we're fielding, and this guy, and the fact that you see he's now 6'1", 221, he's all muscle, he runs mean, he runs fast. All he has to do is work on his patience, the vision. I don't know how you necessarily work on vision. I kind of feel like vision is a natural instinct, but if that has improved, man, watch out for Trey Benson. He's right outside my top 5 because I think there are guys more important. But Trey Benson is going to set the tone for this team. We are a running football team, point blank, period. And if he's running the ball at 6 yards a carry, watch out, because that means everything else around him and the offense, everything else opens up. Trey Benson is very much the catalyst as far as weapons goes, as far as this offense goes. Probably should be actually more I talk about him, I probably should have had him higher. The more I talk about him, I probably should have had Trey Benson higher. But as I said in other groups, having just a deep running back room maybe devalues the importance of a Trey Benson, because maybe Keziah Holmes can give you that, maybe, right? But we're guessing there. But Trey Benson, man, that's my guy. Let's get to the top 5, then I'll take a look at the comments. But number 6 got to be Bless Harris, because this is a guy who I haven't seen an offensive line look like Bless in a while. We didn't get to see Bless for real last year because he got hurt against Duquesne. I did not. I will eat the crow here and now. I will tell you I was dead wrong. I didn't think Bless would be in this position before the spring game. I didn't. You can go back and watch my videos. I felt like they were going to pass him up. I felt like Julian Armella or a Byers or somebody could pass him up on the depth chart. With the shoulder injuries are always tricky because, you know, as an offensive lineman, that's what you do, right? And if you can't do that, because your shoulder's in a sling for an entire year, I don't know how you get stronger and get better at blocking. But apparently, he shut me the hell up because he was by far the best offensive lineman in the spring. Granted, Robert Scott did not participate in the spring game, but Bless Harris was locked. Go back and watch the spring, guys, if you haven't. Bless Harris was locking Jarrett Verse down. He was giving Verse fits. Verse couldn't do anything up against Bless. And if you can block Jarrett Verse and Pat Payton, who he also was locking up, damn it, you can block anybody in the country as far as I'm concerned. I think Bless Harris is going to be your starting left tackle. I think we're going to move Robert Scott to that right side. And I think Bless Harris is going to be the best left tackle you've had since Cam Irving. I'm saying he's going to be as good as Cam. He's going to be the best since. Maybe Big Rod. You can make an argument for Big Rod as well. But Bless Harris is definitely going to be in that argument. I was just astounded by the way he looked in the spring game. And I know, man, I know it's only the spring. But if you can block those guys that I mentioned, then there's not a defensive end I'm too worried about for Bless Harris. And Bless Harris did a damn good job in the spring against two future NFL players, in my opinion. And there you go. There's all the stats. There's all the stats. You guys see number 5, but let's get to let's see let me go to the comments and read some comments out the way before we go into this top 5. Where did I leave off yet? I'm not sure where I left off yet, but I'll start with Briley because Briley's giving me all the feedback. The question mark on Belvis is blocking. We can have him on the field in both runs and pass plays for these formations. He'll make us very versatile, very dangerous. What's up, everyone? I'm seeing some LSU fans not respecting the Noles. I guess they're going to have to find out the hard way. Fentrell is more of a zone guy. Okay. I'm really hoping that Cypress in the spring was just an acclimation period. If so, when his mental game and our system equalize his physical abilities, he eliminates one of our glaring weaknesses. In the secondary, the coaching of great NFL corner could be a surprise unit. I don't disagree. I'm very interested to see what Coach Surtain does with the likes of Cypress, Ronaldo Green, and these guys. Good point, Jonathan. Johnny drops a bit, but if you have any defensive player other than Verse in the top 7, I'd swap them with Johnny at 8. Okay. I disagree, but okay. Because I do have plenty of other players in the defense. We're not done here. We're not here. With Johnny being a known commodity, now there's no reason he can't have a 1K. Let's go. Benson looks like he has worked his ass off in the weight room. For a dude who already had tree trunks for quads, yeah, absolutely. I know. Listen, you when you go and tackle Trey Benson, you are making a business decision. You're making a business decision. Spot on with Bless. He took a page out of Mo's playbook and said, "Take my job, nah, I'll take yours instead." Shout out to Bless for real. Since Cam, that would be big. I think so too, Richard. That would be big. But simple question, Richard, who's the best left tackle? Who's the best tackle we've had on the roster since Cam? Other than Rod Johnson would be the answer. Okay, so other than those two, but we'll see, right? I don't anybody you kind of name since Rod, I'm not really high on, probably. Unless it's somebody I'm not thinking of. Let's go into this top 5, guys. Let's go into this top 5. Braden Fisk, man. Maybe some don't agree. Maybe a surprise for some. But the guy graded out extremely high. There you see his stats, 6 sacks. Braden Fisk is the reason why, again, Darrell Jackson to me just falls into the honorable mentions. He's more versatile than Jackson. He can play the same position Jackson played, though I think you'll probably put Fabo as a true nose and Fisk sort of rushing the passer. But you're talking about 6'5", 305, man. I've seen the guy. Listen, I didn't know what to make of Braden Fisk when we first got him because he plays at Western Michigan. Is it just he played bad competition? Seeing the guy move in practice, I'm sold. Now, obviously, I got to see it in the game, but I think I'm sold on Fisk. I've said it before. I'm high on him. I think a guy he can move for 6'5", 305. He got around FSU's other defensive linemen, and the mark of a guy who can play is he didn't look out of place, in my opinion. I'm going to compare him real quick to a guy who was on the team, who actually now plays not at Western Michigan, but Michigan State, and Jarrett Jackson. My humble opinion, Jarrett Jackson never looked like he was the caliber of D lineman compared to Lovett and those other guys on the D line. I never saw it with Jackson, and he was all a 6'6", 310, 15 pounds, whatever he was. He wasn't a small man. But for me, the guy just never looked like he belonged. From what I've seen from Fisk so far, now we'll see how he gets in the game. He don't look out of place to me. As a matter of fact, he looks like he just might be, I won't say the best one, but he's going to be one of the best one. It makes me not worry about Jackson too much. Farmer obviously playing behind him and Lovett side by side. I love it. And I also think you can move Fisk outside. If you got to have a jumbo defensive line, you can put him at end. They've talked about playing a 5-man front. I think that's a lot because of a guy like Fisk can play sort of a 5 technique. Look, man, I think I think Fisk is going to give you that versatility to play anywhere on the D line. And I don't think he's all hype. And I don't think it was just because he was playing at Western Michigan. I know I'm biased. I'm a homer, whatever you want to call me. I think Fisk is going to be the real deal. And if he's everything I think he is, man, that D line, even if we were to suffer an injury, I don't know if that D line would miss a beat. Coleman, the man, comes in at number 4. And I talked about it when we got him, guy. I talked about it when we got him. This guy makes it so we were already talking about an offense that just had so many weapons. But one glaring spot that we talked about was opposite of Johnny. We didn't know. Was Tron the guy? Spring, Tron played great in the spring. I'll give you that. Remember what I said, though, in the spring game? I said, Tron played great, but take it with a grain of salt. Look who was covering him on all of those kind of spectacular catches. Just take what Kentron did with a little bit of grain of salt. He wasn't really being covered by any of FSU's major corners. Obviously, I think they had questions about who was playing opposite of Johnny because they went out and got this guy. And now he completely changes the dynamic of this offense. Again, to the point that, remember how I said defensive coordinator has to scheme for Johnny? Well, this guy's 6'4" himself. He's no small. He's 6'4", 215. It's not like he's some soft or undersized. No, he's a big physical receiver himself. Pair that with maybe a dynamite guy in the slot or another big physical size guy in Jaheim Bell. Keon Coleman, man, I may be overselling how important he is, and it's possible because he is a wide receiver and you still got to get him the ball. But I really think he just brings a dynamic. And I don't know how teams are going to really – I don't know if you're a defensive coordinator. I don't know how you prepare each week for Florida State. And I think Keon Coleman made it so before you definitely was saying, I'll make – any receiver can beat me other than Johnny. I got to find a way to take Johnny off the board if I'm a D coordinator. At least that's would have been my game plan. Make Kentron prove it. Kentron Portier, you got to prove it. Ja'Kai Douglas, yeah, you got to prove it. One of them freshmen better step up and prove it. Darian Williamson, who are you? Yeah, you better prove it. Deuce Span, who? Yeah, okay. Now, okay, pick your poison. Pick your poison. Rounding out the top 3, man, it's Pat. Listen. I know Briley said if I have any other defensive player other than Verse in the top 7 that's to trade him with Johnny, well, you're wrong. Because this guy is the reason why your defensive line took a step last year. And it wasn't D-Mac. Because D-Mac didn't give you nothing or he didn't give you enough. But this guy was able to come in and basically run D-Mac all the way up to Boulder, Colorado. This guy is legit 6'5", 240 pounds. This guy has a crazy first step. This guy has the twitch. This guy has the length. This guy has everything an NFL scout's going to look for when his time is called. Only a freshman last year. I expect a big jump. And if you want to talk about Pat, and we talked about Gilbert Edmond, hey, if Patrick Payton can take if Pat can give you, he had 5 sacks last year. This guy's probably going to start. I'm not going to say he doubles that. If he can go from 5 to 8 to 9, what can Verse give you on the other side? Look, the possibilities are endless when we start talking about those 2 defensive ends. Patrick Payton has all the upside in the world to be the next great defensive end at Florida State. Brian Burns, obviously Jermaine Johnson in recent years, Jarrett Verse, his teammate. Patch right there. Speaking of Verse, that's who number 2 is. Can't be that high on Pat and not be high on Jarrett Verse, the guy who might be a consensus first round pick. I thought he had things to come back and work on. Well, we're going to get to see how much he worked on this offseason. We expect another big season from Jarrett Verse. 6'4", 250, 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble recovery, 47 tackles, 22 solos. Also, he played with an injury last year. Can Verse stay healthy the entire year? Tough ask for any defensive lineman to stay healthy for an entire year. But remember, man, Verse was off to an extremely hot start, got hurt, sat out Boston College, played very minimal snaps against Wake Forest, played like 15 snaps or something like that against Wake Forest. I don't even think it was that many. Verse could have had even better numbers. Expect more from Jarrett Verse. I think he's the second most important player because, as always, if you can get to the opposite team's quarterback, then you completely change the game, right? I mean, if you don't think Jermaine Johnson might have been the only reason we won 5 games 2 years ago. Like, single-handedly took over games. Go watch Jarrett Verse in some of these games. He has that potential to do that. And that leads me to number 1, because when this guy wasn't on the field, that defense was a shell of itself. Now, the stats aren't going to say that Fabian Lovett is the most important player on the team. Okay, obviously it's Jordan Travis. But stats aren't going to say that it's Fabo. But if you go watch the defense, it was night and day when Fabian Lovett was on the field. It was night and day when Fabian Lovett was happy. Go watch Fabian Lovett in that game right there that you see, the little backdrop. I want you to go watch. That's the LSU game. I want you to go watch Fabian Lovett in the LSU game. And you tell me what you see. And now that we can rotate more bodies, I expect this guy to stay healthy. When that defense, go watch the fact that Fabian Lovett didn't play against Florida. We got manhandled up front against the Gators. Wake Forest, Fabian Lovett didn't play. Wake Forest had their way up front on the line of scrimmage. I want you to go watch the games that guy didn't play in and how the defense looked. Matter of fact, did Fabian Lovett play in the bowl game? I'm almost certain he didn't. Go watch the games that Fabian Lovett didn't play in. Tell me how the defense looked as a whole. And go watch the games he played in. Completely different. Completely different. This guy changes the whole dynamic of the defense. He frees up everybody to be their best. He frees up your linebackers to fly. He frees up your ends to get one-on-one cover, one-on-one matchups. Maybe I'm higher on Fabian than some. I think Fabian Lovett is your most important player, not named Jordan Travis, going into this year. If he's healthy, this defense is a completely different animal. When he's not, they were middle of the pack, in my opinion. And in some stretches, they weren't even very good. They just couldn't. They were just getting manhandled up front to the point where Farmer just obviously as a redshirt freshman, he just needed more time. Again, you didn't get really anything out of a Jarrett Jackson. He was benched by the end of the year. Coop was Coop. Shout out to Robert Cooper, but we kind of knew what Robert Cooper was at that point in his career. A body, kind of nothing more, unfortunately. Hate to say it like that. This guy was the difference maker on that defensive line when he was in the game. This guy was. Shout out to Verse. We know what a Verse is, but this guy was the difference maker when he was in the game. Period. And that's my top 20, y'all. That's my top 20. Now you guys can see my beautiful face. Hold on. That's the top 20, man. And again, let me know what you think. I'm sure there will be some spots that we disagree on. Matter of fact, hold on. Let's do a real quick recap in case for those that joined late. Hold on. For those that joined late, we'll do a quick recap. There's your honorable mentions. There's number 20 is AZ. 19, Joshua Farmer. 18, Winston Wright. 17, Gilbert Edmond. 16, Lawrence Toafili. 15, Ronaldo Green. 14, Casey Roddick. 13, Robert Scott. 12, Shaheem Brown. 11, Kalen DeLoach. Your top 10 starts with Jaheim Bell. At number 9, you get Fentrell Cypress. At number 8, you got Johnny. Number 7 is Trey Benson. Number 6 is Bless Harris. Your top 5 starts off with Braden Fisk. Keon Coleman at 4. Pat at 3. Verse at 2. And in my opinion, the most important player not named Jordan Travis to the success of this football team may very well be Fabian Lovett, as he just, in my opinion, changes the whole dynamic of the defense. The tape doesn't lie. I don't know. I know the stats don't speak on it. The tape doesn't lie. Again, you go watch Florida State with and without Fabian Lovett, and you tell me what you see. Don't take my word for it. Just tell me what you see on the tape. Point blank, period. That's our recap. Shout out to Chris Robinson with the $10. So what up, Polk Orlando on the check-in, Heat in 7. I don't know if it's going to be the Heat in 7, but look, I don't have any faith in the Nuggets, guys. I'm not even going to pretend. Shout out to Chris, man.
Clickety, clank. The money goes into my piggy bank.
Richard says, Pat and Jarrett might be the return of the DNs like we had in the 90s. Even more than throwing bombs, I can't wait to see a big lineup with Johnny, Coleman, Tron, and Bell, and just demoralize defense as we dominate them down the field, drive after drive. Without Fabian running the ball down our you could see it in the Gator game again. Wake Forest, you can see it in a few games, man. You could definitely see it in a few games. Fabo over Verse might shock some people, but it's right. Appreciate you, Tyler. Richard says he likes it. You did some work. I tried to give you guys something to look at instead of me. Every time y'all always look at me, I try to give you something else. And then Seminole Zach says, I completely agree about Fabo. And Peter also is coming in here with that nonsense, saying Heat in 7. It doesn't even matter. No one's watching basketball anymore. No one cares about this NBA Finals, man. No one's watching this crap. I know. I'm a hater. But yeah, man, that's what I wanted to do. I know there's a lot of recruiting stuff on the horizon, but I think you guys get enough of that, right? You can go anywhere and listen to people give you. I mean, we did a recruiting show. I did a recruiting show already. So there's no point in continuing to rehash that. I don't think anything's changed other than one of the offensive linemen that I thought we were in a good spot for committed to USC, the kid out of California, who I thought we were probably going to land. He kind of shocked some people, but I'm not too worried there. We'll find someone else, I'm sure. So as far as recruiting goes, I know this should be a big weekend, and we're maybe some visits coming up here, and but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give you what I thought were the top most important players. Again, that might not be the most talented guys on the roster, at least not in that order. Obviously, talent, importance kind of goes hand in hand. But I think those are the guys that are pivotal to Florida State achieving all the preseason hype and goals and pressure that has been placed upon them. I think those players in that order have to be as good, if not more so, than is expected of them. Florida State wants to achieve those goals. So here LSU fans say he is worried about JT could beat them on any given night. Y'all just need to beat LSU so I can stay on your Noel bandwagon. And yeah, shout out to Lady Knowles. When is the game? When do they're playing Oklahoma, correct? Again, as Oklahoma continues to wield one of the most incredible dynasties in sports that no one talks about, and that's that softball team is absolutely insane. Oklahoma's softball team is. When do we play them? I'm hoping we can beat them, but yeah. But as always, guys, that's all I got tonight. So I'm not going to go too long. We actually finished in a pretty decent time. So, of course, as I have more time on my hands coming up here, expect something this weekend as well. Friday or Saturday, hell, maybe both days, you'll get a late night Knowles After Dark, get an open bar on Saturday, all that good stuff. So Red Solo Cup says game has a lightning delay, so about 10 Eastern. Okay. So, 9 Eastern. I don't know why I said 10 Eastern. 9 Eastern. 9:10. So in a few, 20 minutes or so, something like that. And then Champs 99 says Maurice should have been on the list. A center that gets the snaps, right? I explained that already, but again, I don't disagree. I think center is the most important position on the offensive line. I've explained that, but I didn't put him on the list. I gave him an honorable mention. Shoot me, fire me. I don't know. Say what you got to say. It is what it is. I'm surprised Sandercock isn't starting. Well, we'll see what happens. Now, Oklahoma team is who we ran into before when we were trying to win the Natty, and they beat us. So we'll see what happens. Again, Oklahoma is they're the Bama, they're the Georgia of women of softball. So as always, guys, man, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and continue to share the video. Share it to a friend, Florida State fan, preferably a Florida State fan. But if they're a fan of college football, they may appreciate what we do over here. But definitely share it with a Florida State fan who you think would appreciate, the community that we've tried to build over here is simply one of, we just talk sports, man. So if you like what goes on over here, please come join the family. Come join the tribe. Say it all the time. This is the most interactive show on YouTube. I don't know anybody else that sit here and literally talks with damn near everybody in the chat. It doesn't matter if there's 44 people in here, 84, or 104. I literally talk to just about everybody in the chat every time I go live. And so come over here and have fun and do what it is we do. And also, I think, we keep it the realest over here too. I don't lie to you. I don't pretend like I know things. I don't, I just give you opinions. I'll let you take with that what you will. My humble opinions on the Florida State Seminoles. So let you guys have a good rest of your evening. And as always, it is your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, Seminoles. We are out here. That was my top 20 most important Noles for this upcoming season. Please get in the comments and post your top 20. I would love to see them. Y'all have a good rest.